Hello and welcome to the Annuity Show. I'm your host, Betsy Hulme, and I'm talking today with Elise Roberts, the president of Secure Today Financial. We're going to talk a little bit about what personal and financial and life milestones might trigger the decision to look into an annuity. Elise, in your experience, I know you have a lot of experience and expertise. What have you seen to be some major life milestones that might make a person think about looking into an annuity?
Most of the time, people, when they think about an annuity, they're thinking about their retirement. But some of the things that happen in their lives during their lifetime sometimes could be sooner, sometimes just whenever, is if they've had a loss, of someone passes. And then it makes them think of their own mortality.
Sure.
And how long they might live. Maybe one of their parents lived well into their 90s.
Yeah.
And now they're thinking, how is my money going to last me a lifetime if I live to be in my 90s? I better be thinking of a way to get guaranteed income for life.
Yeah.
Because it may be that, I'm here more than 20 years. So a lot of different things happen in someone's life that makes them consider an annuity. Unlike with life insurance, it's, when they have a baby or someone graduates, or there's a lot of other little triggers for life insurance. When it comes to annuities, it's usually more of, I'm going to retire, or someone has passed, or someone is in some kind of medical condition and they're thinking that, what happens if I can't work and I don't have this money, and I don't have enough money to carry me out through my life. Maybe it's not a terminal type thing, but maybe just an illness that they know, like rheumatoid arthritis, very serious, but that's not going to kill you. That's going to make you live longer, just unfortunately not as well of a lifestyle. So how are we going to have the money we need if that happens? So annuities come into play at many different places in your life, but when there's a trigger of something like a death, an illness, a retirement, the grandkid, your daughter's getting married or your granddaughter's getting married, and you're thinking, I need all this money to do this, but how am I going to make sure I don't run out of the rest? So a lot of different things happen in your life that get you to think about it. But that is the key for us to have that conversation. Some people come in and with one idea and they think, well, if I do this, then I can have this and this. And then when we talk, they realize they could actually have more than that, or they could actually do better than that. And so just making sure and having that conversation around what's happening in your life.
Well, and I love that you mentioned that too, because my immediate thought was all of the more sad things like a death or an illness. But you're right, maybe there's a fun thing coming up that you need to plan for financially, and you want to make sure you're not draining your entire savings just to play for a wedding.
Pay for a wedding, because today weddings are pretty expensive.
Yes, they are.
Oh my goodness.
They are. So I think you're right, though, a lot of times it has to do with retirement. So can you explain a little bit about how an annuity can help with a retirement transition plan?
The transition is key because you're going from knowing that paycheck's coming in every month. How do we replace that paycheck? How do we make sure that that paycheck is still coming? And depending on how much money you have to work with, we can create some of that income. And then, of course, if we need more, we look to the Social Security, another pension you might have, or other accounts. Where's that portion coming from? So it's key. But we may only have a certain amount to work with. I can make sure that that portion pays you for life. And here's what that would look like. And of course, people don't realize this, but the actual paycheck is based on your age and the amount of money in the account. So the older you are, the little payout's bigger because your lifespan might be a little shorter. But we have to, what if you live to be 105? So, and that could happen, especially in today's world, because today we have preventative care. Our parents and grandparents did not have that. They died sooner. So maybe your grandmother was 90 and your mom was 94, you might be 104.
You could for easily, absolutely. So let me ask you this. Do market conditions influence the timing of an annuity purchase?
I would say not to look at, don't try to time the market with annuities, especially the fixed indexed. Market conditions matter a lot more if you're talking about a variable or if you're talking about a fixed rate, because there's your rate. And if your interest rate's like, right now they're pretty high, but they've come down a bit. Annuities a year ago were 6.5%. Today they're 4.5%.
Wow.
Fixed annuities.
Yeah.
So, but the fixed index, you could earn more without the risk. So the beauty of having a little bit of each maybe, or just other monies, all that matters. We just have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And see what's best. But annuities are a great tool if you use them correctly.
Yeah.
And they can be a not so great tool if you just have one because you think you need one, or an advisor says, there, are you happy, now you have one.
Right.
Don't do it that way. Do it the right way, or just don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always love to ask you this because I love to hear your stories. Do you have an example of when one of your clients came to you during a life transition and you were able to help them with that transition through an annuity?
Thank you. This is. I've had so many of those stories lately.
Really?
A couple of them were someone passed, and that was a time when that money, they had the extra money coming in that they could go ahead and get the annuity, and knowing they were going to retire in 3 years. So we have 3 years to grow that money.
Wow.
The other situations, some of them, I'm just trying to come off the top of my head with one right now, where the person is going to retire, but his wife passed.
Oh.
So his wife passed, he's down to one Social Security.
Right.
Right? And he had some other annuities that were older, and a newer one would have given him more income and more growth. And he just met, after a year or two, I think his wife passed 2 years ago, and he just met someone and he's in love and they're going to get married.
Oh.
So there's a lot of transition in his
Yeah,
life.
a
So
lot.
we positioned 3 different things. We positioned that he keep money, he's got gold, he's got silver, he's got stocks, and he's got other things. And then we took the required money, because he has to take the required minimum now.
Right.
He's at that age.
Right.
And that is all the money we're doing in the annuity, because he has to take it anyway. So set that up as income now, and keep your other investments for the vacations. They're going to meet, her parents
Of
in another
course.
country, and all these wonderful things happening for them. So I'm so happy when a client comes to me and has like this situation. Like, it was very sad.
Yeah.
It turned out to be beautiful.
Aw.
And it was a tough time for them, or for him. And then to meet this wonderful person. So he has a lot going on where he has to take RMDs. He wants to have extra cash, so he needs to keep a lot of money liquid. And so we've positioned the money that we know he has to take those RMDs, but we got to make sure that check never runs out. Because that may be all he has left at some point. Because they're already older.
Right.
So if they live to be 20, 25 more years, then they might not travel as much, so they've used all the liquid and more of the bigger monies, and then the other that's creating this paycheck will come forever.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, that's grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
So his checks will just keep going up. So I have so many client stories, I can hardly think of just one, but that was one story with
That's
3
a
parts.
big one, yeah.
Yes.
3 milestones, three big milestones, life milestones.
And other ones are, clients are moving out of state. And like, I had a client that was moving back to New York. New York does not even have good fixed indexed annuities. You can't really get them in that state. There's a lot to that, but that's basically the way it is. And I said, you need to do this before you move. Because once you're a resident of New York again, I can't give you this.
That's
She
so
didn't know
interesting.
that. And I said, we need to do this one now.
Wow.
Because, we've been doing some transitioning, and now is the time. And there's a reason for that timing. That's because of where she's going to live. Some annuities are not available at the same level in California as they are in Florida. So
That's so interesting. Another thing I hadn't thought of.
more to come.
And unfortunately, we are out of time for today, but there will be more to come. Before we go, I want to take a quick moment to encourage you to reach out to Elise. If you have any of the life milestones going on that we mentioned, or maybe another one that you think might make now a good time for you to get an annuity, reach out to Elise and her team, 888-526-4184, or you can go to theannuityshow.com or just scan that QR code you see on your screen. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Annuity Show. Can't wait to see you next time.